World of Warcraft's modern relevance. Now I was iffy on whether I was going to watch this or not, he's a guy with not a lot of subs. I think this is his first video. But let's check out what he has to say about World of Warcraft's modern relevance. I always like to hear this from other WoW players. Oh man, look at that! Look at that clarity. This is like 320p.
It's 2004, and you and your friends just got back from the midnight release of your most anticipated game of the year.
That's right.
You put the first of 4 discs into your computer and realize you're going to have to wait another full 24 hours to actually install the thing before you can even begin to play.
It's true. I remember like putting the discs in to install WoW and then like walking away from my computer and going to eat and stuff. Like this was like inevitably long. Like you knew it was going to take a long time, but you didn't want to miss the disc transfer moment, right? Where it's like, please insert disc 2 now. You didn't want to waste time waiting for disc 2 to go in. So you'd keep checking. Keep popping in. Is it ready? And you put the next disc in. Oh, I miss the days of buying hard copies of games. I still have all the boxes back at my parents' house up until I think WoD. WoD was the last box game I ever bought for World of Warcraft.
What game are we talking
and then everything
about?
went digital.
World of Warcraft.
Need more rage.
Need more rage? Is that what you said?
You are not prepared.
That was a fantastic
WoW comes
invitation.
from very humble beginnings, but I never got to experience vanilla firsthand. I actually started playing WoW during the Wrath of the Lich King expansion.
Oh, he's a Wrath
An expansion
baby.
that, in the eyes of many players at the time, had significantly softened the game from previous iterations. And so, if you were like me, someone that started playing during this time, you were labeled a Wrath baby.
Yep.
A somewhat affectionate title, I first thought, but quickly came to realize that it was somewhat of a backhanded insult. Something used to easily label new players who were also just not very good. But I didn't care.
Basically, I mean, I was a vanilla WoW player, you know, and of course, anyone who started playing during Wrath, I'd be like, bro, you know what you're doing? He'd be like, no, man, I just started this game last week. I'd be like, oh, Jesus, you're a Wrath baby? Oh, God, you've only known a world with Death Knights and all this other shit? Are you a real WoW player? I'm not sure. A Legion, you're a Legion baby. Yeah, like I said, my brother-in-law's a BFA baby. And I forced him to start playing. I told him, if you're going to marry my sister, you better start playing this game, man. We're not going to be friends. And he did. And he loves it. Yeah, BC baby. Yeah, there's a lot of people that started after. I started in vanilla in 2005, and I played vanilla for about, I don't know when Burning Crusade came out. But I never hit cap in vanilla. It took me, I was a very, very newbie. I hit level 58. By the time Burning Crusade came out, which was great because you needed to be level 58 at least to go to Hellfire Peninsula, which is what I did.
I was a Wrath baby.
Good times.
To me, the game opened my eyes to the potential of video games that I had never seen before. The vast landscapes, the huge mountains, the deep oceans, and the diverse creatures and wildlife
Azeroth was the greatest thing about World of Warcraft.
Left me completely floored on just how big this game could be. My gaming experience previous to this was pretty much exclusively shooters like Halo 2 and 3 and Call of Duty 4, very strictly level-based.
What did Sam play before WoW? Halo. I played a lot of Halo, definitely. And like, you know, FIFA and Madden. I was a fucking loser, man. I was a loser before WoW. I always wanted to play games like WoW. I played a lot of RTSs too. I played tons of Red Alert, Command & Conquer Generals, Age of Mythology. Like, those were the games that I played a ton of back then, like all the time on the weekends. That's what I played on PC. Never played anything like WoW before WoW, and haven't played anything like it since.
Based games with short matchmaking replayable content. World of Warcraft showed me that there was a side to gaming that could really take me out of the real world and completely encapsulate me for days on end. I wasn't the only one. During this time, WoW popularity was skyrocketing.
No, I didn't grow up with League of Legends. I grew up with
The
Dota.
expansion's time span, it was peaking
The original
around
Dota.
11 million players. Truly an extraordinary experience for the time. The game was so alive with players, it felt like it would never end.
Yeah,
we all
man.
know how this story goes.
This was
The
peak
following
WoW.
WoW expansions were nowhere near as popular as the pre-Wrath games. The game saw a steady decline over the following years, with peaks surrounding expansion launches. Today, Blizzard no longer publishes active player numbers, but by all measurable public data available to us, we can assume that the active player count is around the 2 to 3 million player mark, with significant reductions in these numbers outside of content
Yep.
release window.
You know what? 2 to 3 million is probably right. I mean, you could tell in the game, you know, when you make a group or anything, how and cross faction had to be brought into the game because of the low number of players. I would say 2 to 3 million is probably right. Now, what I would also say is supposedly Dragonflight has the best player retention ever in expansion, and that's because the content's been pretty good. But in terms of like cap numbers, I mean, you're talking about 2 to 3 million when I believe Wrath of the Lich King had something like 12 million. So there's a big difference. Yeah.
It's important to keep in mind that at this point, WoW is
What's up, Baby
approaching
J?
20 years old.
20
This
years
is a
old,
stat
man.
that absolutely terrifies me.
That's
So
crazy.
how is it still going, despite the massive reduction in popularity from its heights? Well, let's look a little closer. Modern WoW, apart from its amazing art and aesthetics, has always done one thing incredibly well, and that is its combat, and
Yes.
specifically combat in a competitive environment.
Yes.
Raiding and more recently Mythic Plus are essentially the only two
I
parts.
still say, at its bare bones, like World of Warcraft, when you hit something, when you take an axe and swing it at an enemy, feels better than any other MMO out there. There's something about the way they do it. There's also something about the way your character interacts with the environment, like just running around, that it feels more legitimate, real, and smooth than any other MMO I've ever played. And I've only played a few. One of them was Warhammer, and Warhammer felt so janky. Warhammer Online, it felt so janked. Something about the way you ran and interacted with the environment just felt weird. When you hit things, it didn't feel as good. And I came to realize that, like, really one of the core aspects that makes World of Warcraft so good is the combat system. It's just how it feels when you hit shit. It's just better than anything. And it's always been a problem with other stuff. Even New World, it's gotten better. There's something a little bit weird when you're swinging your weapon. I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel as satisfying as taking my Ash Condor and, you know, swinging it at a Naga or something.
Of WoW that have kept me playing.
I haven't
the
played
game
Final
for all
Fantasy,
these
so I
years.
can't speak to
These
that.
two
I've
core
watched Final Fantasy, but I can't really say whether or not their combat system is good or not, honestly. I'd have to feel it myself.
pillars alone are enough to elevate the game, or at least put it in line with most of its competition. No one cares about PvP in WoW today, not even the devs.
It's kind of sad, yeah.
There just isn't anything like WoW raiding in any other MMO right now.
And I've
I
always
say
said
that
WoW
as
does
someone
rating
who
better
has
than any
also
MMO.
spent several hundred hours in Final Fantasy XIV, which I regard as WoW's closest competitor. Combat in WoW just feels very responsive and fluid.
It does.
And the better you get at it, the stronger this feeling gets. Now, you can also see some cracks in it too, especially with certain classes, Windwalker. But that does
Okay.
not take away from the monumental achievement of actually making combat engaging enough that it can carry the
It's
entire
Castle
game on
Nathria.
its
Man, I
back.
miss Castle Nathria. That was a
Then
good
we
raid.
have the raid design and the boss design. Now, Castle Nathria is my favorite raid in WoW of all time.
It's a good
And
one.
It's almost exclusively because it has great bosses, not you Stone Legion generals, and it has awesome aesthetics.
Yes, aesthetic and boss fights, I totally agree. Okay, one thing I will say about Final Fantasy. How about this? I think I really dislike the way they do boss fights with the big ring, or like the way an artificial arena forms, where it's like a fire circle or a glowing circle or some kind of circle that you need to stand in to do the boss fight, and you can't like exit it, like an invisible shield pops up. I never like that. I don't like it. I like that what WoW does better, where like you enter a room, and yes, you get locked in that room, but it just feels like more legitimate. Like there's not some artificial barrier up. You are like in a room with the boss, and you are fighting, and you know you're fighting for your life. You're fighting to the death, and you're locked in this room until somebody wins. That I like more than the artificial weird circle. If you guys ever watched Final Fantasy boss fights, like the way they do it, it's like a weird circle that just pops up, and the players are locked into that circle until the fight is done.
You are storming the gates of a vampire citadel in a zone that looks like something out of a Dark Souls game, working your way to the
It
top
does
in
look
an
very
effort
Dark
to take
Soulsian.
down this buff
Yes.
vampire dude with a fucking big-ass sword that can talk.
Yeah, he's got some good
Which
voice
I
lines.
think is just peak
On
fantasy.
your knees. Oh,
I
that's
truly
good.
believe that WoW would just not be around today if it wasn't for raids like this. Mythic Plus is a great pillar to the game, but it isn't enough on its own to just carry WoW.
Oh, I
Not
agree
for
with
me,
that.
at least. It's really the raids that elevate WoW to a tier above the rest. I'd be hard pressed to do a video about WoW's modern relevance, though, without talking about
Denathrius will
the
come back for sure.
gigantic elephant in the room.
Cookies and cream is actually my all-time favorite dessert.
I've seen this clip so many times.
But I understand that for some of you, your favorite flavor is vanilla.
Nerd screams. Best kind of scream.
World of Warcraft Classic. On August 26th, 2019.
Did this guy become
World
a
of
classic
Warcraft
Andy? Is
Classic
that what's about to
released,
happen right now?
Which is a callback, similar to what OSRS has done, to a simpler time in the game's lifespan, where things were a lot more straightforward, but also kind of more complicated. Servers where Blizzard has recreated the original experience of WoW as it first appeared way back in 2004.
Hopefully we don't get Cataclysm Classic. I don't understand what the point of that would be, honestly.
As popular as it was. I vividly remember on launch night there being in excess of 1 million people watching live streams on Twitch alone for the release of WoW Classic. Truly a moment where you had to be there to experience it. It felt like everyone that had ever played WoW before in their entire life was making a return to the game to check out this mysterious version of WoW that previously only existed in people's memories. But now anyone could experience it for themselves. The launch of Classic WoW was unprecedented, and once again launched WoW back into the limelight as a main talking point for most gamers. You have to remember, almost every PC gamer has, at some point, played WoW. And
129.
So
what?
To not only reach
hold on. What?
Warcraft players.
I didn't ever see this number before. World of Warcraft is estimated to have 129 million total players or subscribers, like over the history of its gaming life, I guess. Holy crap! What? That's an insane number. I mean, obviously, one player could have multiple accounts, so that also goes into this. But oh my god! And one thing I will say is, almost if you go across Twitch, all of these really popular streamers, a lot of them who even don't play WoW that much anymore, started by playing WoW. And you got like Asmongold, right? Soda Poppin', S-Fan, who else? They a lot of them started by playing World of Warcraft. Like a lot of these big streamers were World of Warcraft streamers, and they branched out into other stuff. But oh my god, 129 million. That's
but also
insanity.
Everyone that had ever played it in the past and quit. Not only that, but not long after the release of Classic WoW, a certain event happened across the world, forcing most people to stay at home or work significantly less.
Corona.
And
COVID.
What do you do when you're sat at home and can't go out?
You play games.
You load up WoW. It really was the perfect storm for WoW to take off.
My Shadowlands viewership was always higher than Dragonflight.
And I think you contribute
because of COVID.
A lot of WoW's modern relevance to the popularity of Classic. We also had the release of Classic The Burning Crusade and Classic Wrath of the Lich King, which were met with far less interest overall than the original Classic release, but are popular nonetheless. And most recently, we've had a release of Classic WoW Hardcore, a mode similar to an Iron Man
Hardcore has
reinvigorated
Classic
where
for
if your character dies, it's gone for good. Once again, revitalizing the Classic ecosystem and drawing more players back to the game.
Yeah.
I personally find it super fun and engaging to watch these hardcore guilds run some of the Classic WoW raids, knowing that any mistake could cost them their entire character. Truly a unique experience.
Yeah, it's very watchable. Hardcore.
We've recently had some rumors circulating within the community of a Classic WoW expansion.
Yeah,
named
Classic
World
Plus.
of Warcraft Awakening, with a whole bunch of new zones and playable races that have been heavily requested for years by the community.
Would you guys, I mean, I don't have a lot of Classic Andys in here. Would you guys pay $50 for a Classic Plus? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure people would pay, but $50, that seems like a lot for some content that's 20 years old that's being, reiterated on. Yeah, I'm playing hardcore right now. There you go. Yeah, I don't know.
Claiming to keep the art style
charging extra,
by reusing old assets and expanding upon quest lines that never got finished from original WoW.
That's interesting. What up, Mitty?
Whether or not any of this is true remains to be seen, but I'll be waiting for BlizzCon 2023
Yeah,
to
we'll
see
see
if
if they
anything
announce
like
anything
this
at
comes to
BlizzCon.
light. As great as it sounds, an all-new WoW Classic expansion does sound a little bit far-fetched. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Love it or hate it, World of Warcraft has secured itself as one of the most culturally relevant games of
No
its
doubt.
time.
No
It's
doubt.
kept people playing it for close to 2 decades and created careers and opportunities for players that previously would never have existed. I haven't even spoken about the Race the World First, where the best guilds in the world race to clear the raids on the
It's a good
hardest
one.
difficulty as fast as possible upon release.
It's always fun to watch.
This also creating a momentary spike in popularity for the game, at least 2 to 3 times a year.
Jesus.
Coupling
So
this
good.
with the release of World of Warcraft Classic, the game shows no sign of slowing down. It remains up there as one of the best MMOs out there,
It
no matter
is the
which
best
version of the
MMO.
game you play. And if you're someone who has, for some reason, watched this entire video and have never played World of Warcraft, I strongly suggest that you at least just give it a
Do
try.
it. Do it.
I personally hope WoW keeps going strong into the future.
He's
and that I
finally have a
can
day
tag
off.
along
Come
for the
join us in
ride
raid today.
as long as possible. The release of a classic expansion is something that I would certainly be interested in, and I think a lot of people would take a huge interest in as well. But really, that's just speculation.
I hear the
And as
music.
long as the raids in modern WoW remain epic, I'll probably stick around.
Feel it. Hey man, no MMO has ever done it that good. No way. My man's. Yeah, this is pretty good. If you, I'll link this because he's a smaller YouTuber. He hasn't really he's got 12 subscribers, so you guys could go check out this video and help him out. Give him a like on the video, maybe sub if you liked his video. But yeah, this was great. You know, World of Warcraft, it's affected a lot of lives over those 20 years. That's for sure. 129 million. I couldn't believe that number. That was crazy to me.